afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, featuring today a 1 vs 1 on Semois, featuring JBconqueror and that rapscallion, ImperialDane. JBconqueror fighting for the 1st Infantry Division, supported by a contingent of airborne. Opposing him, of course, me, fighting as the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division Götz von Berlichingen, the only SS division to actually fight exclusively on the Western Front. Pretty much all the others actually fought on the Eastern Front at some stage or the other. Wehrmacht quarters up, so far nothing unusual there. Barracks up, and we are noting a 3-engineer start from JBconqueror, of course, hoping to initially secure a lot more territory. Using this sort of start, but at the same time not jeopardizing it with going too many engineers, and still sort of retaining somewhat early on infantry to actually fight the crowd. In fact, note he's actually starting out with a jeep. He's starting out with a bit of harassment, in fact, which could prove to be advantageous to him. Of course, could also backfire. Of course, we'll have to find out. But some pioneers securing here, going either way. Volksgrenadiers out from the Wehrmacht quarters, going to follow this path, basically securing all strategic points and securing this area against engineers from down south, what I usually do. Also allows me to sort of react to any sort of movement through here, and in case the Americans are up here, I can actually flank them through here. Certainly a bit better, and actually allows me to stay a bit range from the rifle. And there we go, the jeep out, the Willys jeep, used by many of the Allies during the war, including the Soviets received quite a few, although they also had their own jeep. And there we go, rolling out, supporting each other. And of course using the road, in fact, stopping, following, and there we go, figuring out what's going on by the minimap. And quickly rolling in after the pioneers. And there we go, the pioneers are quickly finding themselves under fire, getting a bit pushed about. Trying to secure this point, and there we go, retreating. Schwimmwagen out, and note JBconqueror, he's going in for a pretty early rush towards the fuel point. And I do have a Schwimmwagen out, so I can quickly reroute forces. Pioneers getting hunted down. Schwimmwagen moving up to deal with these engineers. And there we go. Getting off a few good shots. One engineer down. Schwimmwagen actually taking a bit of damage here. Another engineer down. Might actually be able to render the point neutral and succeeds. The Schwimmwagen at the same time has taken heavy damage. And the jeep could in fact end up getting it damaged. Engine, pioneers need to rush in. Volksgrenadiers, another squad on the way while I retain the forces down there. Jeep taking a bit of damage, pioneers rushing up. Repairing and swiftly targeting the pioneers, in fact getting off quite a few good shots. Pioneer squad dead. That is not a good start for me, in fact it's horrible. And he's quickly moving in, perhaps even moving after that. Volksgrenadiers out. Schwimmwagen in fact could get lost. And there we go, Schwimmwagen is lost. So in fact that's a pretty good start out there for JBconqueror. Pioneer squad and Schwimmwagen dead. Pretty volatile harassment, definitely not what I had been expecting. Pretty rare to see something like that, at least from my side. So very nice move right there. Of course I probably could have handled it better as well. Should not have been so aggressive with the Schwimmwagen. And there we go, following up here, another engagement down south. And I in fact just decide no point in bothering my troops, as too far spread out. I won't be winning anything in the longer run. So I just retreat, in fact, to avoid handing over manpower and experience to him. Just rather quickly prepare to sort of pushing out again with another fresh pioneer squad on the way. Engineers pushing out a bit there. He might be moving in here for a bit of sneakiness. Schweres MG42 ready, and there you go, the pioneers are ready as well. Some hold on the map, in fact, largely mirrored. In fact, I actually have a bit more than JBconqueror has at the moment. Of course, that's partly due to the fact, again, he rushed for the fuel. MG slightly slowly advancing. And note the mine right here by the crossroads. Good mine placement. Sneaky mine placement, in fact. Jeep pushes out again. Folks advancing. MG providing covering fire. Engineers rifle getting suppressed. And engineer actually goes down. The Wehrmacht pushes onwards, salvaging the Schwimmwagen for any munitions that could be handed over. And rifleman pushing in there, and 2-man down. Volksgrenadiers getting caught a bit here by some engineers, and the Jeep rifleman moving in, continuing in fact their job of harassment, duty or mission, while some pioneers in fact sneak in down south to do some as well. And note here, mine there, just in case that JBconqueror decides to move in and harass again. And usually that's what I do. I don't bother with barbed wire because, again, as JBconqueror did initially, engineers can just cut through it, so I just actually move on to mine. And there go the Fulskers trying to act, but actually end up hitting a mine, taking some losses. Moving in to cut the wire there. Very nice sort of initial aggression by JBconqueror. Actually managed to catch me nicely off guard. And then proceeding to really do a lot of damage. Although certainly he's also taking some minor losses himself. It is nothing that will completely cripple him compared to what he's actually done to me. In fact, forcing me to spend more manpower. Rather than here, though, are not in a good condition. Why can't? In fact, we're seeing a full retreat. Of course, I'm securing the missions there, so gaining some map control. Pioneers moving up with minesweepers. I don't want to get caught off guard with any more damn Yankee mines. So, of course, a minesweeper will pay off nicely. Supply it up. Already, he could, in fact, be rushing towards a motor pool. For all I know, of course, it also helps a bit with the manpower upkeep. Keep moving about there. Volkswagen is mining down there as well. In case he decides to rush in an armored car, it will certainly not be completely caught off guard. And mining down there, in fact, because this is a nice route, and again, most units tend to take the road, in particular vehicles, so again, a mine there could catch something off guard and alert me to anything going on. Plus, it's not the usual mining spot, which is the road, so there's also less chance of him just sort of figuring, just in case, burning with a flamethrower, setting off with a grenade. Volkswagen's here in a pretty bad condition. Jeep gets another kill. That is less good. In fact, gets another kill and gains veterancy 1. That's never a good sign. And in this case is a bit unfortunate and a bit shameful for me. But certainly not bad for JBconqueror. Trying to harass the fuel down there does not succeed. Trying to get the Volkswagens there on the retreat. But looks like they do escape. Motor pool is in fact up. Kriegbags going up. Doesn't quite have the fuel yet. And I'm wiring off there. In fact, to sort of ensure he can't, take up position by the walls there. In fact, a bit more wire here. Again, to limit movement of JBconqueror. And of course, also deny him heavy cover. So actually doing two things with this, which can pay off. Quickly counter-attacking to protect the fuel point. Again, he's also harassing a lot because he wants to ensure I get as least fuel as possible. Of course, also cutting him off from any other resources. And that way, of course, giving him a slight tech advantage as well. Lots of flamethrowers. I mean, JBconqueror clearly now going on with much greater on the offensive. While I'm, well, slightly still trying to sort of come back after some of the losses I suffered. Jeep still remaining there. Volkswagen's reinforcing, pioneers moving up. Pack on the way. I know what's going to happen. Because, again, I've not seen anything that could indicate otherwise. And there we go. In fact, mine goes off, killing 2 engineers. Almost killing the third one. And going for the cutoff point there as well. So, all of a sudden, he's actually lost 12 population. That's actually a difference. That means something. Plus, of course, I've cut him off from the munitions there. So, that means a lot less munitions and less fuel. Again, I mean, harassment can make a difference in your opponent's resources, and that matters. There we go, the pack is out. Greyhound is out at the same time, more or less. And there we go, Volkswagen arriving, trying to deal with the engineers here, doing a bit of American harassment. While we are seeing JBconqueror pushing up here on the flank nicely, the 1st Infantry Division so far. Clearly holding the greater advantage, I would argue. A bit of fighting over here. Volkswagen versus Riflemen. Volkswagen, though, do seem to have a slight advantage. Never mind. Jeep moves in, and this could actually be to my advantage, because that means I can finally get it with a Panzerfaust, get my vengeance. Though he's certainly gotten, well, full resources out of that Jeep, I'd argue, at least with the Schwimmwagen. And there we go. Jeep gone. Engineer squad actually died down there. We are seeing him pushing up there. Mine starting in front of the church. And I've been caught right in front of the church. Quickly getting suppressed, in fact. So nice little engagement there. And nice force sneaking up there again. JBconqueror being absolutely everywhere on the map. Quite excellent harassment. Striking, well, again, everywhere and forcing me to spread out my defense, and of course also spreading out my attention. That is again delightful for me. Oh, and another pioneer squad down, trying to lay down a mine, and he just gets off a shot, killing 2 right away. And I'm trying to sort of move up the pack here.
I got a bad feeling about this, Sarge. Upgrade is complete.
And armored skirts are up. Looks like he might be pushing north again. Grenadiers are out though. Some more stout troops of the 17th SS. Not the most well-trained division. Did not quite have the time, in fact. A bit of mining there just in case he decides to rush my base. And going back for the point there. So again, slightly fortifying the town square. And again, he's moving in. Hits the mine. 2 men down. And he's keeping the Greyhound there in reserve. He's not pushing it quite yet. Moving in the pioneers to try and run them off. And there we go. But of course, there's still the Greyhound. And that forces me to rush my pack up in case he decides to raid my base. Of course, if JBconqueror is clever, he's of course going to move down here because he's probably going to protect this move. And of course then try to harass down south. Again, you know, against constantly forcing me to shift my forces, keeping me off balance. And again, that's actually quite important while fighting the Wehrmacht. Wire off here again to sort of prevent anyone from sneaking in. Could also wire this area off. In fact, that's what's happening right there. Nice push through the center. Minesweepers. JBconqueror is having none of those mines. And there we go. The Greyhound is moving southwards. Grenades on the way, and we are in fact seeing 4 riflemen squads, so JBconqueror is in fact lining up for some larger infantry antics. Grenade from the Grenadier spot. JBconqueror excellent dodges. MG opening up. Panzercheck up. Quite a bit of fire going on here, but the Grenadiers and Volksgunners are outmanned, and the heavy cover provides nice protection from the heavy machine gun, pretty much meaning it's not going to do so much. Volksgunners getting pushed away here. Did not manage to quite fully wire that off, pulling back. Rifle gets suppressed. Bit of the market stall is missing, so they don't quite avoid that. And again, rushing back to pack. While the squad of heavily wounded Volksgunners take up position in the building down south. And there we go, the first grenade out for JBconqueror. Going for the MG, almost down in fact. Do manage to retreat it in time, though barely. Having a bit of trouble with this pack actually. For some reason, it was selected when I ordered some other units away. Rifleman hitting a mine, giving me more time to actually slowly pull back, establish a new defensive position. Further fighting down south. The Rifleman getting simply shot at by so many Grenadiers, hiding in buildings and whatnot. Down to 3 men. Grenade goes off. Mine goes off, killing several infantrymen. Leaving, in fact, with only Grenadier getting out of there what was otherwise a nice position. Absolute carnage, absolute chaos, and of course, a nice hole in the cemetery wall. This is not looking good. Sturm Armory, though, has come up. Armored car, in fact, and here we have a slight mistake here. He actually moved it into the cemetery, which is not good maneuvering space. And that means the pack actually gets off a nice chance to hit it. I mean, against, you know, you have to be a bit careful with what sort of terrain you move your vehicles into. In this case, I mean, it's not really good terrain for it because the armored car can't crush walls or tombstones. In this case, it actually sort of got caught here, tried to get out, but it simply couldn't in time, and the pack got it. Of course, we probably hadn't expected something like that, but, you know, always a good thing to remember. And personally, I always love when they drive something in here and that's an armored car, because that pretty much means I'm guaranteed to kill it, because there's no way they can get out of there in time. But we are seeing an armored car rolling out. Die schwere Panzerwagen. The Germans did in the later stage of war basically phase out the other one because it was basically not really good. It could only be used on roads. This one could actually be used off-road. So again, there were some things there, and of course they switched over the light one with the light half-track, sort of converted into an armored car. But let's go have a look at me. In fact, I've given JBconqueror too much time. Unfortunate. But up there, bit of infantry. Could do with a bunker, a medic bunker, in fact, with all this infantry, but salvaging the armored car. JBconqueror pushing in. Again, armored car, they're providing support. Volksgunners Grenadiers moving in. Infantry flamethrowers moving up on the other side. Again, barbed wire does ensure I can actually suppress them a bit easier. Grenade goes off. Several Volksgunners down. Armored car opening up. Grenadiers suffering heavily as well. This is carnage. This is insane, and I forgot to wire off this area. Grenade goes off. Killing, and not even killing anyone. How rubbish. And the grenade goes off, almost killing the MG. And in this case, I will actually try to did not succeed. Propaganda war to actually protect the MG from being captured. And of course I've gone terror. We are seeing JB actually moving in a minor force to the south. Interesting. And the armoured car is essence functioning like a stronghold right here, ensuring the riflemen can't do too much because they simply do not have the firepower to actually take it on. And in fact these riflemen are in a pretty poor condition. And there we go, we're actually seeing an anti-tank gun being dropped in, forcing my armoured car away. Second one on the way. I'm currently not really worrying about any armour, so I'm basically figuring, get more armoured cars. Initially, perhaps some grenadiers to follow up. And again, I need to wire this off properly. Clearly, Helmut tried to skimp on the barbed wire. Kampfkraft Center could also benefit me greatly, alongside a medic bunker. And of course, remanning this MG, and basically these folks are just here to keep an eye on things to ensure the MG does not get stolen or stolen, taken, whatever. Grammar failure. And there we go, Rifle in fact moving forwards. Volkswagen is quickly moving back to secure the MG. Grenadiers moving up as well. And the MG is actually pointing in the wrong direction. That is not good. And we are in fact seeing another grenade from JB, but the MG's crew escapes. One man dies still on the retreat. Grenadiers caught on the open grenade. Ooh, two riflemen down immediately. Minor engagement over here. Armored car trying to deal with the riflemen hiding over there. Kampfkraft Center going up. And there we go, it is up. With another squad of grenadiers coming out as well, to basically increase the infantry presence. Since again I figure he's gone airborne, so I don't have to worry about armor anytime soon. And again in that case, grenadiers fit the bill nicely as long as I don't blob them up and make them an easy target for any strafing runs.
Attention. The enemy advances.
Trying to use two armored cars here to actually try and dig out the Americans. One sort of hitting them from the front, the other one trying to hit them from the flank where they can't quite as easily dodge things. Moving out again, still worried about any sort of errant strafing run. I mean, any recon run here in a strafing run could actually do a lot of damage to me.
We are losing ground.
And now here comes a smaller, armoured, mechanized pincer maneuver. In fact, I'm pushing in here towards the center. But note, I'm actually moving up both armoured cars on the flanks because I know he's got the anti-tank on roughly around here. And of course that means I can actually move up here. I'm of course worried that he might have mines down there, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. And in fact, he's dropping in some airborne infantry. But there we go. Armor coming through. Waiting spot. Bit slow for vehicles, but still I managed to get up behind. Other one moves in. Dodges. Grenadiers pushing forwards. MG hiding in the cafe, or he's taking up position. Anti-tank gun decrewed. Sticky bomb on the armored car. He has upgraded. That is good. Rather than he actually taking quite a bit of damage from the grenadiers, from the armored cars. Heavy losses for JBconqueror's infantry. Grenades going off. More riflemen moving in. And the armored car does go down. The airborne here fighting courageously, but sadly courageously is not enough when facing German war machine. More grenadiers advancing quickly. A few riflemen dropping in the market square, which is looking less and less like a market of things you'd normally buy and more one of death. And some Volkswagens actually in this building as well, slowly advancing. Things are slightly stabilizing at the moment. Bunker going up. Armored car needs to pull away somewhat. Of course, I could also consider recrewing this anti-tank gun to use against the enemy, or at least deny it to him. And I'm more the type to sort of try and just use what my opponent has rather than destroying it for no apparent reason, because I'm like that. You never know when an anti-tank gun could come in handy in case he does decide to suddenly shift for a tank depot. Having an extra anti-tank gun could prove advantageous. At least that is my line of thinking. Doing a bit of more harassment. Bunker up, medic bunker upgrade on the way. And some veterancy for the vehicles and the infantry on the way as well.
Veterancy gain.
And again, JBconqueror not lying still, quickly setting up for some new antics on the flanks. Well, I'm desperately trying to shore things up and prepare things. and also do a bit of harassment. Quickly retreating these chaps because they are in a poor condition.
Here's a breach.
Of course, now the anti-tank gun is slightly further back. It is to set up any Yankee panzers while the pack is here. Of course, technically the Germans will also refer to this as a pack because, again, pack is how they describe AT gun. And lining up here again, he's using that gap, and again I have failed to sort of fill it up. Not good. Nicht gut, mein Herr.
Yes, comrade.
Sturmgeschütz on the way, basically a bit of something heavier. Again, he's lining up there. He's got some things here, although he has actually taken some nasty losses. But he's still nonetheless ready to take on the Krauts. In fact, he's got about, what, 1, 2... He's actually got 5 squads of riflemen. So he's definitely not going light on infantry. In fact, he's gone pretty infantry heavy. In fact, he got 6 squads all in all. Engineers here coming swiftly under fire. The armored car doing quite nicely as a response force, but of course, as soon as you get that, you have to pull it off. But in this case, Propaganda War saves the day. And note, the route that JBconqueror is taking here, he's actually lining up for some pretty far flanking. In this case, he actually gets spotted by 1 squad of Volksgrenadiers. And there we go, grenade off, and the Volksgrenadiers themselves off. Going for the cutoff again here. And wiring off here again as well. And in fact, a bit more wire there. Again, to ensure they can't rush directly at the anti-tank gun. Armored car quickly rushed off there. Rifleman making movements up there. And more barbed wire there. In fact, slowly just laying down more and more wire while nothing's happening. And again, that is important. You do something while nothing else is happening. It actually, you know, pays off when the enemy then decides to actually attack. Sticky bomb in the armor car, but I do manage to send off the rifleman, protect the fuel point. And again, going for the victory point down there. JBconqueror absolutely everywhere. He's like a rat. Well, you know, not to be mean and all, but he's bloody well everywhere. And there we go, pushing in through there. Of course, the MG now, of course, can't cover. I mean, it basically only works towards here, not towards the flank. And in fact, he's heading up there on the flank. Grenadiers doing what they can. MG might need to leave. Anti-tank getting pushed away. Grenade goes off, and there we go. The MG abandons the cafe. Pioneer squad forgotten and dead. Everything going on everywhere. Now we go, the MG opening up, suppressing the airborne. The anti-tank and crew, those suffering somewhat viciously. Grenadiers actually with a branding automatic firing on the rifleman right there. Rifleman making good progress here, having a bit trouble stopping them with my Volksgrenadiers. And the armor car can't quite get to them. And there we go, grenade on the rifleman and almost dead. Almost. But they managed to get away. And the airborne, in fact, are holding up quite nicely here. And they get the anti-tank gun. How rude.
We have 300 points left.
But the riflemen here do finally succumb. But they've also actually gunned down quite a few medics, ensuring I can't recover any of the wounded right there. The bastards. But again, harassment. More veterancy for my infantry.
You're losing a sector.
And in fact, getting an MG upgrade for my infantry, again to deal with all the other infantry coming at them. And there we go, veterancy 2 up. JBconqueror pushing in. Again, he's very intent on going for that fuel point. Absolutely obsessed with it. And I'm rather quickly trying to deal with that. Could of course also wire off here and perhaps a bit here. And perhaps a bit some there.
We are ready to push back the Yankee. Yes, comrade.
And there we go, ready for a fresh counter assault, this time with larger numbers, slightly more experienced. Some men of the 17th push forwards. Angriff! And there we go, the assault is pushing in. Bit of a lighter engagement here. Grenadiers with an LMG trying to take on the riflemen, but they don't quite succeed. Grenade goes off a bit too quickly.
MG crew on me.
And an Igloo actually appears. And there we go, the riflemen actually end up losing towards the Fultz Grenadiers. And a single supplied upgrade. Nice progress here, and Fultz squad dies up north. Airborne getting hit a bit there. One MG gunner down, armored cars. Adding into the fire, and there we go. He actually throws in a satchel charge into the window of the cafe, blowing up a nice chunk there. While the fight continues up north. JBconqueror continues to apply pressure, streaming in more men. In fact, again, oh dear, I keep forgetting. Streaming in more men to the fight. The Nebelwerfer fires in return into the cemetery. Armored car seeking an escape. And again, flanking up nicely. Quite impressive.
Recon available.
We're airborne. We're meant to
And blowing up the central cemetery a bit.
Axis hold the initiative.
Airborne has hit the field.
And the Grenadiers are ready to move out. With some MG support. Nice penetration into the south again. Quite happy about that. From his perspective, of course, obviously I'm not quite as fond of it. And there we go now, in fact, launching a larger assault here. And of course, due to the fact this is slightly more difficult terrain to move about with, of course, it's going to be a bit difficult for me to react. But the armored cars there, the Stuke is there. Grenadiers and Pioneers moving in, while of course at the same time we're seeing a push into the center as well. JBconqueror again launching assaults on numerous points. Grenade goes off. Catching quite a bit there, doing quite a bit of damage all in all. Raven here suffering viciously to the Grenadiers and the armored car. While the Raven here are getting suppressed. And there we go. Airborne make short work off. And one remaining rifleman squad here in the east. Getting off a grenade. Killing a bit there. And the armored car inflicts quite some severe damage. And a sort of engineer squad sort of realizes it's perhaps time to leave. It's not fun playing with those Germans. But the Königstiger rolls out. Pulled out from reserve to fortify things a bit. And provide a slightly more thickly armored target. Still, he's got 5 squads of riflemen and 1 squad of airborne. He's again got quite the infantry forces. Again, he's got something quite mobile, something that can sneak in on many points.
Forward air control reports P-47 ready.
And so it's not all about fully, raw force for JBconqueror. It's also a lot about finesse and hitting from the right angles to cause as much damage as possible.
We're losing ground out there.
We're hot. Position under fire from Kraut troops.
And rushing at the full screens right in the center and nicely sending them off. But the Königstiger is here. Right, and again, JBconqueror preparing for another offensive into the town. King Tiger fires and misses. Grenadiers holding out the remains of the cemetery, the graveyard. And there we go, the MG and the King Tiger opening up in support. Pretty much closing off that avenue. And note, in fact, JBconqueror realizes this is a bad idea and quickly retreat. He does not pour forces into what he realizes is already a lost battle. Again, he has no need to that. So, of course, quickly one squad to scout out what's here. Oh dear, there's actually resistance. Let's move out and try and find one spot. There's not. Something like that. Pretty clever approach right there by JBconqueror. Grenadiers here fighting up north with the LMD, the Leichter Maschinengewehr 42. Riflemen, in fact, running right up to it. If not for the Grenadiers actually having moved that MG, they might actually have done a bit better. But still, made a few kills. But again, a bit of the problem with an MG is the fact that the gun has a tendency of constantly jumping about. And more barbed wire. Again, to basically just make it harder for my opponent to move about. Which does have a tendency of paying off in the longer run. Still not wired off that area properly. Come on, man. Medic bunker not having much luck. Nebelwerfer moved a bit forward, and there we go. JBconqueror really lining up, and now he's got 6 infantry squads, 2 of them airborne. Never mind, that's 7. I can't count anymore. How horrible. Anyways, so turning to the 17th SS again. 1st Infantry Division with support from the 82nd Airborne. And there we go, moving in, mining down there. In fact, I'm not quite expecting an assault like this. Of course, I'll be forced to respond a bit. Nebelwerfer seems a bit forgotten. I do have some support veterancy. And there we go, flying Nebelwerfer. Pushing up there with engineer support in advance. That is good. Minesweepers even. And even some minor engagement up here as well. Veterancy free up though from infantry to help a bit against all the BARs and of course the increasing American veterancy. Some riflemen advancing in there. Grenades getting lobbed left and right. In fact, he lobbed this one a bit too far. And of course, veterancy free for German infantry tends to give them just a large health bonus, or at least a considerable one, which does make them a bit more useful in combat. Even Volksgrenadiers benefit quite nicely from it. Rifle moving out though, out in the open. Volksgrenadiers pop out right in front of the grenade, but the armored car saves the day. Seems he's in fact continue cutting wire again. He's lining up for that big assault. And probably going to push through here, although there's a mine there, and of course through here. Again, JBconqueror is a patient hunter. And he's clearly got something in mind. This is going to be certainly fun to watch. Although, of course, at the moment when it happens, not fun for me. And there we go. The signal has been given. The 1st Infantry pushes forward with lots of airborne support. Could even have some other things like, say, strafing runs or bombing runs. Going down with a bunker here, in fact, to actually sort of try and protect this propaganda war down. Mine goes off, pinning 1 squad of airborne. I continue the bunker. I'm not realizing again how big this is. Most of my forces, in fact, are elsewhere. And there we go, 2 squads of airborne rush in. Stook is quickly taking heavy fire. King Tiger holding up things here. MG in support as well. Armored car, Grenadiers rushing in. Nebelwerfer's fine, but of course the airborne quickly run past. And we are in fact seeing an inspired assault going up as well. Just want to stop this before it's too late. Grenadiers do manage in fact a few kills with the inspired assault, but ultimately not quite as much as like. And 2 grenades, though mercifully a bit too far. And the airborne do suffer a bit, and the riflemen keep pushing on. The MG turning them up, but there's a slight problem. And that is, in fact, while it might look like it has a free line of fire, it doesn't have. I actually need to move it up here. King Tiger moving in. Grenadiers here. Grenadiering, and killing 4 man with 1 grenade. King Tiger getting off a few more kills. Pack cleared. MG turning about. Nebelwerfer a bit on its own. German infantry needs to reinforce from... move in. Quick response. And now we're in fact seeing an anti-tank gun moving up. Nebelwerfer destroyed, wrecked. MG going up. Engineers moving in. And in fact quickly setting out to clear out the medic bunker as well. And veterancy 2 for some of the airborne even. This is quite vicious. And the mine of course neutralized the mine. Volksgrenadiers moving in. King Tiger getting fired upon by the anti-tank gun. MG bunker stopping a bit there. But of course there's still the airborne with satchel charges. Volksgrenadiers desperately fighting. Airborne dropping in. There we go, bunker gone. Absolutely well caught an assault while another one goes up there. I mean, again, note the large forces on the right here. He does have a slight tendency to actually just blob up, which is a lot less honourable, I would say. Still pushing in. King Tiger fighting. More Grenadiers getting trained. I need infantry to fight infantry. In particular with all this veterancy and of course all those recoilless rifles. And I don't have panzers but only a Sturm armory. So pushing in, additional infantry moving in. King Tiger though doing quite nicely, killing. Anti-tank of course decrewed. Airborne blasted. And the fight over here was lost, although no losses at all for the Americans even. How depressing. But quite the assault by JBconqueror. Did quite a bit of damage, quite a bit of carnage. knocking out a Stug, bunkers, Niederwerfen, otherwise causing some pretty heavy losses. Oh, and a pack crew. So really nasty work there again. A nice usage, basically of flanking, not attacking the same spot at any time. Of course, meaning I've got to sort of shift things out and try to figure out, well, where's he going to attack? So again, very nicely handled and very nice usage of the engineer to clear another path there. Again, ensuring he doesn't follow into one point. A bit blobby with the airborne, and I've been able to catch them a bit better with a better prepared MG. Of course, that might have been a slightly different story, but again, more barbed wire. Rather than advancing straight into the MG, and quickly one man is down. Volkswagen's providing fire support. Well, basically additional fire. Rather than advancing into the MG again, another man cut down is his prime. And veterancy free for the riflemen, but they are down to 3 men versus 3 Volksgunners, also veterancy free. This could be to the advantage of the Volksgrenadiere. The slightly less awesome Panzer Grenadiers of the 17th SS. King Tiger needs repairs, armored car rolling in. And the Volksgunners just push down southwards until they run into some riflemen. Which actually happens pretty quickly. Grenadiers reinforcing. 3 Grenadier squads so far. Still nowhere near as much as infantry he has, and in fact now he's gone for a tank depot and a second supply upgrade. He's even got a Trier center. All he needs is actually just a medic station to really keep things going. And note, barbed wire, more barbed wire, plus some there, and still not fixed that. Come on, that's not good. Another bunker up. This though is going to be a repair bunker to help with the King Tiger. So quite a bit of action, quite a bit of bloodshed from JBconqueror, who still got quite the sizable force. Although they might actually begin suffering slightly here. 1, 2. No, he doesn't. He might have lost actually 1 squad of riflemen. I'm not entirely sure. We'll find out soon enough, but note here a much larger amount of barbed wire. Still not fixed that. God, that annoys me that I've not done that. And another Grenadier squad again with all the infantry he has. And again, I don't want to expend resources towards a Panzer command. I just basically go for, well... And of course, as soon as I see the recon run, I know what's up. He's going to be calling in a bombing run on the King Tiger. And several men are lost in the process. But ultimately the King Tiger does not completely wreck, and I call in a firestorm to actually protect the center square. Causing quite some fireworks. And ultimately ensuring I am not completely run over end. But again, lining up for another assault again. Nice push. Several riflemen scorched there. Other forces moving into the center. 2 airborne squads, in fact, although the Grenadiers and Volksgunners are here, but on the wrong side of the barbed wire. Of course, in this case, I've slightly made myself an unfortunate favor right there. In fact, done my opponent a favor by ensuring I can't reinforce my other positions here. And now riflemen pushing in from the south. More Grenadiers that are moving in. MG gets overrun. Grenadiers caught right in the airborne mix. And in fact, just generally caught out in the open. King Tiger does his can to provide support from that range. And armored car rolling in. Ow! Goodness gracious, nice hit by the King Tiger. 4 airborne gone in the blink of an eye. Riflemen still holding out in the house, but they are quickly abandoning after, well, realizing they're on their own. And the Grenadiers drop 1 man. No medics to pick him up. Rather desperate defense currently being run by me. But 4 Grenadier squads. If he can go heavy on infantry, so can I. And this is in fact slightly turning into be quite the infantry fight overall with some light armor. Basically meaning overall I do have the combined arms advantage. Trouble is, of course, sort of coordinating it properly. Volksgunners here getting run over by riflemen. And another squad of veterancy-free riflemen. Are absolutely horrific. Could of course benefit with another LMG, I think. And note here, he's actually just clearing out the barbed wire using recoilless rifles. And he has enough munitions, he could just use a satchel charge. I mean, it would also clear out a larger chunk of it and basically make it easier for him, but he decides in a slightly more slow manner. And I'm actually wiring off further here, so this won't matter as much. And there we go, another bombing run going in against the cafe. Even hitting some of my retreating grenadiers. But mostly just blowing up the cafe further. In fact, that's not really much of a cafe left. King Tiger still repairing, still nasty damage right there. Grenadier squad rushes in, right into the middle of everything. And got trouble stabilizing the MD to fire away, but there we go. And JBconqueror holding up the town centre amidst wreckage and tombstones. And the Grenadiers slowly rake up the kills with the armor car, joining in, of course, the airborne in the long run. Hold up. And there we go, Firestorm. Firestorm, and he's not retreating, he's actually advancing. And there we go, quickly losing a few squads. In fact, he's already lost one squad of riflemen. In fact, he could lose another one. No, they survived, but still took some damage from the Firestorm. And the cemetery has largely ceased to exist. Pretty much desecration there. And the Fultz Grenadiers, considerably tougher, but on their own, of course, moving towards the west. And he's holding up their neighbour for pulling up, but this time not as far up. I got a bit too bold previously. Again, note the wire here. Ensures he can't get a direct run at the victory point, which should buy me some more time overall. And moving into wire off there again, which is actually again making him harder for him to move about. And again, that's where I slightly have an advantage besides the, having a bit of King Tiger and such. I mean, he doesn't actually have a lot that can deal with the barbed wire. That, of course, means he can't move about as easily. And again, means I can actually much easier dictate the flow of the battle and, of course, keep him out in the open. Then he's here, they're caught and run off. Neither though fires away triumphantly. Could also, of course, barbed wire this area. And in fact, wiring off here. To again make it harder for my opponent to move about. Still, he's got 2 veteran T3 rifleman squads, and he's actually ceased a 30 caliber. But interesting enough, he's not bothered with a mortar, which could actually make an assault from a slightly more productive. And in fact, why didn't he do that earlier? Fultz Grenadier down, rifleman pushing in. Fultz Grenadier spreading out to ensure he can't just rush them both at the same time. There we go, grenade off. They're further out in the open. Another man dead. 2 more, but of course the Fultz Grenadiers are now on the wrong side, which means the riflemen with the veterans free can of course get the full fire on the Fultz Grenadiers, which is not to my advantage. And again pushing up here, but now again note the barbed wire is forcing him to take this route, which leads us directly at the King Tiger, and also note there's no cover for him. I mean, this is a route which, well, basically a little light cover, of course, also basically every step he takes moves him further and further closer to my forces. This is not a good fight for him. And again, he could just, lob the satchel charge here and he would have been done with. But again, he doesn't seem so keen on that. And I mean, satchel charges are basically meant for blowing up obstacles. I call that an obstacle. But again, that's not what people think when they think high explosive. They just think killing people, not, dealing with obstacles, which could make it easier for me to move directly at my objective. Armor cutting a bit there. Grenade going off. Heavier losses for the airborne. In fact, JBconqueror, of course, now forced to retreat past all of this. And off goes the Inspired Assault in the hopes of finishing off a squad. And in fact, the recoilless rifle is dropped. He's yet to use the tank depot, which is a huge shame, in particular considering all the fuel he has. And there we go. Airborne squad, in fact, is dead. And that was the Veterancy 2 one, in fact, and I proceed to actually secure some recoilless rifles, to at least deny them to my opponent. So there we go, slightly heavy armed grenadiers. Although I'm sure they wish they had the Panzerschreck. So, nice little detail there.
Our fuel point is
And now we are in fact seeing a Sherman on the way, but he's going to need more than that. In general, of course, he ought to know I have a King Tiger. So, I mean... And of course he lost the airborne. But it rather looks like things are slowly slipping away for JBconqueror. He's taking two heavy losses. In fact, I've also gotten myself a mortar this time around. Sort of deal with things and of course slow down his advance. And for that matter, just harass him while he's trying to take my territory. Another bunker going down. Though generally I'm not having a lot of luck with my MG bunkers, which I think is a bit of a shame, but there you go. And I should perhaps consider laying down some fresh wire there, so again he can't run directly at the bunker with the airborne and get off a satchel charge. Again, stuff like that is why you use barbed wire. It's not just about, you know, denying cover or a specific route. It's just about making the direct route for your opponent a lot less approachable, and of course just make it harder for him to move about. And now he does have a Sherman to of course crush through, but for a long part he hasn't had that. And there we go, the assault is moving in, Sherman rolls in, King Tiger rolls out, Fulton's a bit under fire in the cemetery, Grenadiers with a recoilless rifle, trying to get off a shot on the Sherman, but getting absolutely rushed, and the recoilless rifle is for some reason not firing at all. What madness. Needle could fire, and there we go, the MG bunker is up, the airborne are suppressed, but of course fire up. And again, there's no barbed wire to actually prevent them from running directly at it. So again, I should have gotten some more barbed wire up there. Satchel charge on the bunker. King Tiger slowly advancing, not rushing in. I don't want it to be exposed to sticky bombs. Mortar rounds need for fire. German infantry rushing in to contain the madness. Please. And the mortar even getting one kill. First Infantry Division not holding out so much better now in the face of the 17th. Riflemen blasted, and there you go. 2 sticky bombs on the armoured car. Veterans one will provide a bit of protection, and in fact probably ensures it survives. Grenadiers penetrating in through there, although close to getting hit by their own mortars. And in fact using my heavy cover now. The bastard. Propaganda wall protects there a bit. In fact, he's moving in. He wants that victory point because no, he's barely got anyone left. And there we go. The Sherman moving forwards right in front of the King Tiger, Die Königstiger, the Tiger 2. Which is actually also suffering from anti-tank gun fire. Church getting hit rather viciously. Rather advancing through the fire. And some Grenadiers suffering rather viciously. And another bombing run. This time though a bit slow, because partly I didn't get a recon run, which would have alerted me. Pioneers dead again. Now again, repair Pioneers a bit easier to suppress. And there we go, armor car flanking about, going in for the anti-tank, and victory point in the center has been rendered neutral. Grenadiers advancing up against the riflemen. Who shall win this? Grenade goes off. 2 man down. Mortar rounds flying. Armored car desperately trying to knock out the anti-tank gun. And it succeeds. Small victory.
Enemy unit down.
Taking fire. Ground troops are coming for us. Taking fire.
Smaller fight up here. As a small infantry force moves in to try and secure the point over here. In fact, 30 caliber up there to protect, but moving in such a way he can't suppress it all. Also note, Veterancy 3 full screens in fact have Veterancy 2 full screens actually get a slight suppression resistance bonus. So in fact I can flank up out there while the Grenadiers in fact are easier to suppress at Veterancy 2. Fun little fact there. But there we go, overmanning the entire thing, or overpowering it. And there we go, 30 caliber gone. Down to 4 infantry squads from 7.
We're losing a sector.
Fall in for battle.
And quickly securing the 30 caliber to turn it against the Yankees. And there we go, the airborne are rushing in, all fired up. Grenade goes off against the 30 caliber, killing 2 but not all. In fact, he ends up retreating probably due to a propaganda war. Ooh, Sherman almost down, but all victory points are also in my hands. And there we go, a rather close fight. Was definitely not looking good for me in the beginning. Partly that, a rather grievous mistake right there certainly gave JBconqueror a considerable advantage, though I was able to recover. And certainly I think one mistake Mr. JBconqueror made was sort of, the motor pool. Then he rather abruptly stopped with it, went full airborne, sort of went for that, and then sort of the tank depot combat again. It was never really in full force. I mean, if he'd gone, I think, for a tank depot early and with a bit more force, he might have been able to overcome me. But it didn't quite happen, and he sort of also began relying a bit more on brute force tactics. I mean, yes, great on harassment, but as things slowly progressed, he began blobbing a bit more, which did allow me some nice, kills right here and there. Of course, I probably shouldn't have bothered with all those MG bunkers, but also note the barbed wire actually made a difference. It made it a lot harder for him to move about and achieving his goal. It made it easier for me to funnel him into a thing where I can actually do a lot more damage at the same time. So again, remember, barbed wire matters an awful lot. So having 5 squads of grenadiers. Well, again, he was going heavy in infantry, and again I figured, why not myself? Because again, it rather is a bit more flexible unit, for dealing with infantry and armor just in case. So, there you go. Do hope you enjoyed this match. If you did, why not subscribe and tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own. This is ImperialDane saying cheers.